The NFL is home to some of the greatest athletes on the planet, but behind the touchdowns, fame, and highlight reels lies a much darker reality. Over the years, several players have faced serious accusations.
Ben Roethlisberger accused sexually assault 20-year-old college student in Georgia.
And shocking scandals involving violence against the women in their lives.
NFL star running back Ray Rice knocking out his fiancée.
From cases that destroyed entire careers to superstars who managed to keep playing despite disturbing allegations, today we're diving into the stories the NFL wishes you'd forget. Let's get into it. Ray Rice. If there's one case that forced the NFL to face its own failures, it's Ray Rice. Before everything collapsed, Rice was the star running back of the Baltimore Ravens, three-time Pro Bowler, Super Bowl champion, and the engine of their offense. He was beloved, respected, and seen as one of the league's good guys. But in February 2014, all of that changed in the span of a few horrifying seconds. On February 15th, inside an Atlantic City casino, Rice and his fiancée Janae Palmer got into a heated argument. At first, the public only saw the aftermath, Rice dragging an unconscious Janae out of an elevator. That alone was disturbing enough, but it was only the beginning. Initially, Rice was arrested on a simple assault charge and released. The Ravens publicly supported him. The NFL suspended him just 2 games, and the conversation seemed to move on, until the second video dropped. Months later, TMZ released the full elevator footage, and the entire world saw exactly what had happened. Rice struck Janae with a single brutal punch, knocking her unconscious instantly. The reaction was immediate and explosive. Fans were outraged, analysts were stunned, and the NFL, already under pressure for its handling of domestic violence cases, was caught in a firestorm. Commissioner Roger Goodell insisted the league had not seen the full video before issuing the suspension, something many questioned, then and now. The Ravens released Rice the same day the video went public. The NFL suspended him indefinitely, and his reputation evaporated overnight. Sponsors cut ties, fans burned jerseys, and the conversation around domestic violence in sports reached a level the league could no longer ignore. Rice appealed the indefinite ban and won. By 2015, he was officially reinstated, but it didn't matter. No team wanted the PR nightmare. No owner wanted to be the one defending the player at the center of the most infamous domestic violence scandal in NFL history. Ray Rice never played another snap. Today, Rice speaks publicly about accountability and violence prevention, but his name remains a symbol of an era the NFL can't distance itself from fast enough. His fall wasn't just the downfall of a player. It was the moment the league was forced to face just how deeply it had failed in protecting victims and addressing abuse. Adrian Peterson. Adrian Peterson is one of the greatest running backs the NFL has ever seen. MVP, 7-time Pro Bowler, a generational athlete built like a tank with the speed of a sprinter. But for all his on-field greatness, Peterson's legacy will forever be tied to a series of incidents that shocked fans, split public opinion, and revealed an unsettling pattern that stretched far beyond football. The first and most infamous moment came in September 2014. Peterson was indicted in Texas for reckless or negligent injury to a child after using a switch, a thin tree branch, to discipline his 4-year-old son. The injuries were severe enough that doctors immediately contacted authorities. Cuts, welts, and bleeding. Peterson insisted it was traditional discipline the way he was raised, but the photos told a story the league couldn't ignore. The Vikings deactivated him almost instantly. The NFL placed him on the commissioner's exempt list, and by the end of the year, he was suspended for the remainder of the season for violating the league's personal conduct policy. The message was clear. The league wanted to distance itself from the optics of child abuse. Fans were divided, some defending him as a strict parent, others horrified by the brutality. But what many people forget is that Peterson's troubles didn't end there. Years later, in February 2022, Peterson was arrested at LAX after reportedly getting into a physical altercation with his wife, Ashley Brown, on a plane. According to police, she had a small mark on her skin, and witnesses claimed the couple had argued loudly before Peterson was removed from the aircraft. His wife later recanted, saying the incident was exaggerated and she did not wish to press charges. The case was dropped, but the headlines reopened long-standing questions about Peterson's behavior behind closed doors. There were also earlier disputes, reports of arguments, past accusations that never escalated to charges, and a general cloud that followed him throughout the 2010s. While none of these incidents resulted in legal punishment, they contributed to a growing narrative that Peterson's anger issues extended far beyond the football field. Despite everything, Adrian Peterson kept playing. Several teams were willing to take the PR hit for the chance to add a Hall of Fame caliber talent to their roster. And in typical Peterson fashion, he produced, silencing critics one Sunday and reigniting debates the next. Ben Roethlisberger. Ben Roethlisberger wasn't just another quarterback. He was the face of the Pittsburgh Steelers, a two-time Super Bowl champion, a franchise cornerstone, and one of the most recognizable players of his generation. But behind the success and the Big Ben persona lies one of the most controversial off-field histories in modern NFL memory. His career wasn't just defined by highlight reel plays. It was overshadowed by two major sexual assault allegations that nearly ended everything. The first scandal erupted in 2009 when Andrea McNulty, a casino hostess in Lake Tahoe, filed a civil lawsuit accusing Roethlisberger of sexually assaulting her in a hotel penthouse suite. According to her account, he lured her into the room under the pretense of a maintenance issue, blocked the door, and forced himself on her. Roethlisberger denied everything, claiming the encounter never happened. The lawsuit dragged on for years before being quietly settled in 2011 for an undisclosed amount. No criminal charges were filed, but the allegation left a permanent stain on his reputation. Then came March 2010, the incident that pushed the NFL into crisis mode. A 20-year-old college student accused Roethlisberger of assaulting her in a nightclub bathroom in Milledgeville, Georgia. Reports said he had been bar hopping with a group of friends and bodyguards who allegedly kept other patrons away from the hallway during the encounter. The woman, heavily intoxicated, told police that Roethlisberger followed her into the bathroom and assaulted her. The case gained massive media attention. Police released detailed statements. Witnesses confirmed seeing interactions between the two. But ultimately, the district attorney declined to press charges, citing insufficient evidence, partly due to the victim's impaired memory and inconsistencies in accounts. However, the DA made one thing clear. This was not an exoneration. It was a legal dead end. The NFL, embarrassed and under pressure, suspended Roethlisberger for 6 games, later reduced to 4 for good behavior. It was the first time a quarterback of his caliber had been punished under the league's personal conduct policy without criminal charges. Roethlisberger eventually rebuilt his career, returning to lead the Steelers for another decade. Fans moved on, the league moved on, and the scandals faded into the background, but they never disappeared. Even now, debates continue. How much was overlooked, how much was forgiven, and how different the NFL's response would be if the same allegations surfaced today. Antonio Brown. If there's anyone in modern NFL history who burned through his talent faster than teams could keep up with the headlines, it's Antonio Brown. Once the best wide receiver in football, quick, explosive, and unstoppable, Brown was on a Hall of Fame trajectory. But behind the spectacular catches and record-setting seasons was a personal life spiraling completely out of control, marked by domestic violence allegations, disturbing behavior, and constant turmoil. Brown's domestic violence issues date back years before his public meltdowns. In 2017, the mother of his children, Chelsea Kyrus, filed police reports claiming Brown had been physically aggressive and emotionally abusive, though no charges were filed. In 2019, reports resurfaced as their relationship deteriorated further, with Kyrus accusing him of threats, harassment, and violent outbursts at home. Brown denied everything, insisting the disputes were exaggerated or fabricated, but the pattern was beginning to emerge. Then, in 2019, the same year he forced his way out of Pittsburgh and then Oakland, Brown faced another wave of accusations. Former trainer Brittany Taylor filed a civil lawsuit alleging multiple incidents of sexual assault. Around the same time, Chelsea Kyrus again accused him of domestic violence, claiming she felt unsafe in the home. Police were called multiple times for heated disputes, and Kyrus later filed for full custody. The NFL launched a lengthy investigation, interviewing witnesses and reviewing evidence. Although the league league ultimately did not suspend him specifically for domestic violence. They did suspend Brown 8 games in 2020 for a combination of misconduct, including threatening text messages to another woman who had accused him of inappropriate behavior. Meanwhile, his public behavior continued to unravel. Police standoffs, social media tirades, throwing furniture from a balcony, being arrested for battery against a moving truck driver, and chaotic live streams featuring his children and ex-partner. Again and again, Kyrus alleged violent behavior behind closed doors. Brown repeatedly denied wrongdoing and accused her of manipulating the media. Despite the storm around him, Brown kept getting chances because he was just that good. Tom Brady personally vouched for him twice, first in New England, then in Tampa Bay. For a brief moment, it worked. Brown scored a touchdown in the Bucs' Super Bowl win and looked like he was rewriting his story, but it didn't last. In 2022, he walked off the field mid-game, shirtless, signaling the unofficial end of his NFL career. Since then, his life has continued to spiral publicly between legal problems, restraining orders from Kyrus, and more allegations of harassment and domestic disputes. He could have been a legend. Instead, he became one of the most controversial figures in NFL history. Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is one of the most electrifying players the NFL has ever seen. Blazing speed, highlight reel touchdowns, and game-breaking talent that can flip a scoreboard in seconds. But long before he became Cheetah, and long before millions of fans wore his jersey, Hill's name was linked to one of the darkest cases in recent football history. Hill's controversy began before he ever played an NFL snap. In 2014, while at Oklahoma State, Hill was arrested after an altercation with his then-girlfriend Crystal Espinal, who was 8 weeks pregnant at the time. According to the police report, Hill punched her in the stomach and face, choked her, and threw her around during an argument. The details shocked the college football world. Hill pleaded guilty to domestic assault and battery by strangulation and received 3 years probation, anger management classes, a year-long batterers program, and court-mandated supervision. Oklahoma State immediately dismissed him from the team. Most expected his football career to be over, but his talent was too extraordinary to ignore. In 2016, the Kansas City Chiefs drafted Hill in the 5th round, a move widely criticized as the team was accused of prioritizing speed over ethics. Hill insisted he had changed, expressed remorse, and committed to counseling. At first, it looked like the gamble might pay off. Hill stayed out of legal trouble, dominated on the field, and became a core piece of a championship team. Then came 2019, and another storm hit. Hill and Espinal, now engaged and parents of a young son and twins, were investigated by Kansas authorities after their child suffered a broken arm. Audio later surfaced in which Hill told Espinal, "You should be afraid of me too," sparking nationwide outrage. The police cited insufficient evidence to determine what happened, but the details were unsettling enough that the Chiefs briefly suspended him from team activities. The NFL ultimately chose not to discipline him due to lack of clear proof, but mandated counseling and closely monitored the situation. Public opinion split instantly. Some argued he deserved another chance. Others believed the league was protecting a star player rather than a child or partner. Despite the controversy, Hill's career only skyrocketed. He became a Super Bowl champion in Kansas City, then a megastar in Miami. But that wasn't all. The couple eventually split, and in November 2023, Hill married Kita Vaccaro. But in 2025, she filed for divorce and accused him in court filings of 8 separate domestic violence incidents during their 17-month marriage, including physical assaults and alleged abuse while she was pregnant. Those new allegations have triggered a fresh investigation by the league, adding another dark chapter to a career already overshadowed by past abuse claims. Greg Hardy. Greg Hardy was built to dominate football fields with a towering 6'4" and 280 pounds of pure explosiveness. On the field, he was a nightmare for quarterbacks. Off it, he became the center of one of the most disturbing domestic violence cases the NFL has ever seen. His downfall is so dramatic that it still gets referenced every time the league talks about reforming its personal conduct policy. It all began in May 2014, when Hardy's ex-girlfriend, Nicole Holder, accused him of assaulting assaulting her during a terrifying altercation in his apartment. According to police reports and courtroom testimony, she said Hardy threw her onto a futon covered in firearms, dragged her by her hair, ripped a necklace off her neck, and threatened to kill her. The photos and testimony painted a brutal scene, one that sparked national outrage as soon as the details hit the public. In July 2014, Hardy was found guilty of both assault and communicating threats. The judge sentenced him to probation, but Hardy immediately appealed and asked for a jury trial. Before the new trial began, the case took a major turn. Holder stopped cooperating with prosecutors, and the charges were dismissed. Many believed she was paid off privately, although this was never proven, fueling even more controversy. But the NFL had seen enough. Hardy was placed on the commissioner's exempt list for most of the 2014 season. In 2015, after reviewing evidence including graphic police photos that were later leaked by Deadspin, the league suspended him 10 games for domestic violence, one of the longest suspensions in NFL history at the time. It was eventually reduced to 4, but the damage to his image was irreversible. The Carolina Panthers let him walk in free agency, distancing themselves from the scandal. But the Dallas Cowboys, known for taking risks on troubled players, signed Hardy to a 1-year deal. The backlash was instantaneous. During his short stint in Dallas, he clashed with coaches, argued on the sidelines, and showed zero remorse publicly for the allegations. The experiment failed spectacularly. After 2015, no NFL team touched him again. Desperate to stay relevant, Hardy tried MMA and boxing, careers built on violence, ironically fitting for a man who had become a symbol of the NFL's darkest failures, but none of it worked. Greg Hardy could have been a perennial Pro Bowler. Instead, he became a face of the league's most shameful era, proof that talent can take you to the top, but character can destroy everything just as fast. Ezekiel Elliott. When Ezekiel Elliott entered the NFL as the Dallas Cowboys' 4th overall pick in 2016, he was instantly marketed as the franchise's next superstar, explosive, charismatic, and tailor-made to revive America's team. But Elliott's rise came with a shadow that has followed him his entire career: allegations of violence and off-field misconduct that challenged the league's credibility and its so-called zero-tolerance stance on domestic abuse. In July 2016, right before the start of his rookie season, Elliott's ex-girlfriend Tiffany Thompson accused him of multiple instances of physical violence over the course of their relationship. The allegations included photos, text messages, and statements she provided to police. Columbus authorities ultimately declined to press charges due to conflicting and inconsistent information, but the NFL launched its own investigation, a process that dragged out for more than a year, creating one of the most chaotic, publicly contested disciplinary battles in league history. After reviewing evidence and interviewing witnesses, the NFL announced in 2017 that Elliott would be suspended 6 games for violating the league's personal conduct policy. What made the decision explosive was that the league admitted Elliott had not been charged with any crime. Instead, they determined that Thompson had been credible and consistent, and that Elliott had engaged in physical force on multiple occasions. Elliott denied all allegations, calling the investigation flawed and biased, and his legal team spent months fighting the suspension in federal court. The ordeal became a national spectacle: appeals, injunctions, reversals, until Elliott finally dropped the legal fight and served the 6-game suspension mid-season. But even outside the domestic violence case, Elliott developed a reputation for impulsive behavior. There was the incident at a St. Patrick's Day parade where he pulled down a woman's top, the late-night altercation with a security guard in 2019, and repeated off-field controversies that frustrated Cowboys leadership. Despite his multiple Pro Bowls, rushing titles, and cornerstone player status, Elliott's personal conduct continually clashed with the image the NFL tries to project. The Elliott situation left a lasting impact on the league. Critics argued the NFL used him as an example to appear tough on domestic violence, especially after years of backlash from the Ray Rice scandal. Supporters claimed he was punished without legal due process. But regardless of which side people fell on, one thing was clear: Ezekiel Elliott became the center of one of the most polarizing and precedent-setting disciplinary cases in NFL history. Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt's rise in the NFL was meteoric. As a rookie for the Kansas City Chiefs in 2017, he led the league in rushing, instantly becoming one of the most dynamic, explosive young running backs in football. He was the perfect fit in Andy Reid's offense. He was versatile, fast, and electrifying with the ball in his hands. But just as quickly as he rose, Hunt's career imploded under the weight of violence and the NFL's failure to control yet another off-field scandal. In February 2018, during the Chiefs' off-season, Hunt was involved in a hotel altercation in Cleveland. The incident initially flew under the radar because no charges were filed, and both Hunt and the Chiefs downplayed reports when they surfaced months later. But everything changed in November 2018 when TMZ released surveillance footage showing Hunt shoving, lunging toward, and kicking a woman in a hotel hallway. The video was undeniable, graphic, and instantly compared to the Ray Rice scandal the NFL had mishandled just 4 years prior. The Chiefs claimed Hunt had lied to them about the events, and within hours of the footage going public, Kansas City cut him from the team. It was a shocking move, considering Hunt was one of the league's best young players, but also one the organization framed as an ethical stance. Hunt later admitted in interviews that he had not been truthful with the team, saying he was in the wrong and needed to own his mistake. The NFL placed him on the commissioner's exempt list while they investigated, but the controversy didn't end there. During the investigation, a second incident involving Hunt, this time a physical altercation with a man in a nightclub, surfaced, further cementing concerns about his off-field behavior. Though less publicized, the pattern of aggression painted a troubling picture. Despite everything, Hunt was given a second chance. The Cleveland Browns signed him in early 2019, emphasizing rehabilitation and counseling. The NFL suspended him 8 games for violating the personal conduct policy. Hunt expressed remorse, attended anger management and alcohol counseling, and returned to the field as a productive role player alongside Nick Chubb. Still, Hunt's career will always be overshadowed by that hotel video, a moment that forced the NFL to again confront its inconsistency in handling violence against women. Von Miller has long been one of the NFL's most dominant pass rushers. As a multiple-time Pro Bowler, Super Bowl champion, sack leader, and a star whose athletic profile commanded headlines. But by late 2023, that reputation was overshadowed by one of the most serious off-field allegations to hit a high-profile NFL veteran in years, a domestic violence case involving a pregnant partner. On November 29, 2023, police in suburban Dallas responded to a disturbance at Miller's home. According to a police affidavit, when his pregnant girlfriend attempted to leave their apartment with her belongings, Miller allegedly became visibly angry, pushed her, then twice placed his hands around her neck for 3 to 5 seconds. The report also claims he pulled out some of her hair, threw her onto a couch, stomped on her laptop, and caused bruising and other minor injuries. The next day, Miller voluntarily turned himself in to law enforcement, was booked, posted a $5,000 bond, and released. The charge: third-degree felony assault of a pregnant woman, a crime in Texas punishable by 2 to 10 years in prison and up to a $10,000 fine. In the immediate aftermath, Miller denied the allegations, calling them 100% false and blown out of proportion. He insisted that he and his girlfriend have problems just like any couple does, but denied the assault claims. Despite no formal criminal conviction, the league acted. In October 2024, the NFL suspended Miller for 4 games under its personal conduct policy. The suspension appeared connected to the 2023 allegations and sent a clear signal. Even without charges filed or a verdict, the league was ready to penalize a high-profile star under its conduct rules. Miller has publicly said he believes the case is closed, pointing to his legal team's counsel indicating no charges would be filed. But for many observers, the damage is done. The alleged details revived painful memories of prior domestic violence scandals in the league and raised uncomfortable questions. How far does talent shield a star from accountability? As much as he remains a dominant force on the field, many believe his legacy will forever be overshadowed by these allegations. Do you believe the league has improved in its handling of domestic violence, or are these scandals proof that nothing has really changed? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section, and before you leave, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to NFL Rivals so you don't miss the next ones.